Hello, this is me doing a piece of content for the VoyMonk channel. I said piece of content. I kind of lost a little bit when I first said that, so I was interested in seeing exactly what might come out if I turn this on, so that's what I'm doing. I think this might turned out to be an extra, not a vlog or a voiceover per se, but just an extra. I'm laying here kind of just thinking, mulling over life in general and how I feel about it and everything that's going on in my life at the moment. Now, this won't be an extra or a piece of content where I dump on everybody or anything like that, but I just thought it would be kind of nice to, go with the flow, as I usually do, but in this one, usually when I hit the record button, I have an idea of what I want to talk about before I do it, and even though it's not scripted, that kind of thing, I at least have a general overall idea of what it is that I want to be saying. I think I was going to say consensus, but that's just me kind of being overly technical, I suppose. Using words that would otherwise be better if I kept simple. And I think I do that from time to time. And for all the things I talk about, not putting on makeup and having my faults, I think it's one of those things that just experiencing and overall living life has kind of drilled into me to a point where it's almost like a unconscious reflex. I want to say it's kind of a survival mode. I think that the internet and social media has of course plateaued and springboard off of that I'm not sure how I'd call it, maybe that manipulation that I think a lot of people have had growing up about putting up appearances for that social contract that we all kind of don't agree to, but we participate and kind of agree to it anyways. And so I think that oftentimes, like the online stuff, where people will talk about their lives, talk about their goings-ons, it's usually used as, at least to me, just more or less marketing and a tool. And that's if it's ever really that successful or intricate. I think oftentimes, or at least many times, I guess in terms of overall popularity, I guess I should say, even those that generally aren't, that are maybe moderately popular compared to others, I think if you show or you find yourself paying attention to the transition, that'll not only happen as individuals begin to kind of change or morph or become who they've always been from where they started. I'm talking about content creators and things of the like, but also the way they respond, the way they interact with others, and of course, the way the world also interacts with them. And I think it creates this kind of disconnect that I don't think it just appears out of nowhere. I think it's something that's honestly I think it's always a part of the face that we present. I mean, I can honestly say that while the internet and social media and communities online are magnified by quite a bit, it's not an entirely new phenomenon. It's evolved, right? It's evolved from where smaller communities of in person and things that people might say or do or whatever in person, which is also part of doing a lot of what graduated into what we have today, where it's not people putting on makeup, to go out and maybe be social with their neighbors or something like that. You'll find that a lot of times that being online, that's pretty much a lot of the same thing. And so the question might be, well then, okay, why? Right? What is the alternative? I remember so many years back, and it's probably a thing now today too, but there's a website that used to be called The People of Walmart. And of course, this is before, brick and mortar places kind of became less and less. I mean, the eventual downfall of Sears and Kmart and a lot of stores of that nature. But Walmart's been around forever. It's still around. But in its inception, one of the things that it brought then to it, and with the popularity of Walmart, was this big box experience where everything could be just purchased and bought in all one place. And therefore, you wouldn't need to necessarily go anywhere else. It's kind of how what malls, strip malls, or malls of any kind that had different shops kind of morphed into. It's just, why leave, right? Just have a really big warehouse that you call a store and people come in there. Anyways, the point being is that there used to be a website called The People of Walmart. And this may be where you're at. They still do it. I don't know. But, Walmart was not only a one-stop shop where you could buy everything and anything, but typically they would be like 24 hours in a lot of places, especially the big cities and stuff. And so, you could go 4 o'clock in the morning looking for anything from sponges to, the next Xbox game and stuff. And there wouldn't be a lot of people there, obviously, as far as to help you, but they existed. You could buy whatever it is that you needed to buy. And the point being is that, like I said, it was anything and everything for all people. So it attracted people. And really, I think part of the convenience drove this, I want to say, kind of laxed feeling in terms of the people that would come into Walmart to buy anything or everything at different times. The way they would dress, the way they would present themselves, or maybe the lack thereof in some cases. And the cops would be called. But yeah, people would just show up and there was limited expectations. And so the website, The People of Walmart would, get people that would sometimes capture these things on their phones or cameras or in something. And then they would, of course, upload them online, and you would see people basically just kind of mocking and making fun of the fact that, it's kind of like casual Friday. It's just like that one person that just in everyone's mind just takes it way too far, maybe too casual or something like that. And so the reason I mention this is because in terms of our physical appearance, our physical being together and whatever, I mean, it's not a necessarily new concept that, people present themselves. Some people do it to a more, extensive degree, but a lot of people do it to, a basic degree. And whether they mean to or not, sometimes it's just, again, it's a reflex because, even before the internet, even before TVs, I mean, there was a cultural perception of what you should and should not be and what you should or should not be doing. And some people could say that that's a good thing as far as in the way of having standards, but sometimes that kind of pressure can sometimes lead to what seems like it should be freedom really altogether not being freedom. And so that my basic point is that when I talk about, online and doing content and creating and making a channel like this one that I've got, there's a lot going for what it should or should not be, what it could or could not be based on perceptions and expectations and things like that. And so for me, I think overall my basic, whenever it comes to doing anything online, as far as this channel or any other content, maybe on a different channel, it doesn't matter. For me, I think it's more important to be sincere and genuine, no matter what that may cost in the end in terms of, well, maybe it's just not as popular because people don't genuinely take interest in other people or care unless there's not something in it for them. In this case, in terms of entertainment or, something that they can kind of resonate with in terms of that kind of thing. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing either, but I think if you deal with the public or if you deal with people, part of that experience is studying human nature, even especially like myself. I don't always understand it. I don't know if it's autism. I've definitely not been tested for that. I do have major depression, anxiety, and ADHD, and that's definitely developed the brain that I have to see the world the way that I do, and all of the things that comes with that. And so, yeah, it's it can be a conundrum, deciding how to present yourself, knowing who oneself is. A lot of people can go their whole lives not knowing who they are. And I find it amazing that people are surprised that they can then at some point share that life with others, and that either they don't know certain people after they've known them for a long, long time, or other people don't really know them, which can sometimes create conflict, or at least not know them, but not necessarily know all of them. And I think in some ways that's part of that makeup. That's that instinctual drive to, whether it's for pride or ego or, maybe it's just survival. I think for some people like myself who don't necessarily always understand humanity, but you do, or at least in a sense of why, I think that or anything like that. I think what you have to do in order to get along, even if you don't. Like I said, and that's been my trouble and struggle as well. Beyond just this channel and the things that I talk about, it's tough sometimes to try to identify parts of myself, at least through my years and growing up and becoming older, and not recognizing and realizing certain things, because some of that push to wear our makeup, and I've said that plenty of times. I say makeup. I literally mean makeup. I think people hear that, they think, makeup like in a cosmetic sense. In a way it is, but not just the face. I'm talking about if you go on Facebook, right, or even YouTube and stuff, you'll have entire lives that are presented before you that they aren't always authentic, and most of the times they aren't. And I'm not talking about the other degree, or the extensive degree, like influencers and things like that, and that all plays a role as well, because it is marketing in a new way. But I'm saying to you, if you have ever had friends or family or people that that they have an account, I want to see, even as far as maybe MySpace, but especially nowadays with companies like the ones that we're all familiar with. And the thing is that if you have people that people you're friends with, it doesn't have to be many, but if they go online, if it's like, I think it's surreal when you have that experience that the people that as well as they may be certainly authentic to some degree, if they are, it's usually not totally. And then also too, often it seems like the person that you're supposed to know can sometimes actually be someone that you're not sure that you know at all. Because that's the other thing too. Sometimes the makeup we wear for others isn't necessarily the makeup that we wear, for those that know us, or that are closest to us, or even for ourselves. I think part of wearing masks is, to disguise ourselves for ourselves. And so, like I said, those are the things that I think about when, I make content like this. I take my time to, think and I guess plot, whatever, in terms of what my next idea might be or what I'll do. But, like I said, I didn't really know what I was going to talk about when I hit this record button. And then here we are 18 minutes later, and I feel like I've gotten quite a bit off my mind, or off my chest, in terms of, maybe me not even knowing that I had that rolling around there. I think part of the cathartic experience of doing this a bit too is the fact that, it's provocative in a way, doing this content online and presenting oneself for others in terms of what they can hear and what they can know, and the ways that we choose. I guess to some degree there's always some bit of makeup in anything and everything that we do, to some degree, whether we're conscientious to it or not. But I think a part of this experience for myself that I've learned and has come to terms is that, like, as I've mentioned before, there being a conscious and a subconscious part of myself specifically, and I think in people in general that may be, is that sometimes the conscious and the subconscious part of myself are not in agreement. They're in conflict. So what part of me wants to do one thing, the other part wants me to do another. And I can go on ignoring that, or allowing the more dominant conscious part of myself to overrule the subconscious, just ignore and avoid or whatever. the problem is that doesn't necessarily go away, because there's still parts of, at least for me, my subconscious that still controls a lot of other things. And I think, and I wonder sometimes if sometimes the things that I think I want to do consciously can be sabotaged by the things subconsciously that I actually don't want to do. And, talking about this in terms of makeup and, what I'm creating, that all comes out. And the cathartic part of this is that I really do think that conscious and subconscious part of myself just, I don't know, it focuses when I do content for this channel. And I'm using and trying to be creative. And maybe that's the key that unlocks some of the struggles or, doors that I feel that I need to have answers to understand and know myself, which, again, I feel is part of this process. So, and I don't want to mask it. I do try to go throughout my life being as honest as I, feel I can be, or it's safe. I've done a lot of stupid things, and I don't find myself particularly malicious or vicious towards anyone. But like I said, I'm a human being, and of course I've made mistakes. But yeah, I think at this age of 46, that self-discovery is really, it really is something that is to behold. Not rather than just an existential crisis or midlife crisis or whatever people kind of frame it or whatever. But yeah, that's the thing I find myself thinking about this late at night while I'm laying in the bed and making content that I'm not sure exactly where it's placed in what I do. But hopefully if you're listening to this and you hear it and you enjoy what you're hearing, or I don't know, you make some kind of connection. Like I said, I'm always interested in building a community and finding others that, want to interact and engage, which is a word that I've used and learned a little bit more with TikTok as of recent and that. But yeah, that's what's on my mind. I don't know. I think that's going to do it for the most part. I could probably keep going on, but at this point, I'll either just do another one or, take a break. If you're listening to this, thank you. And hopefully talk to you again. Take care.